I have a question. When I was in Singapore, I had a question. It was on the first page. The question is asked. I have changed my religion from Buddhism to believing in Jesus Christ. And then now I'm getting depressed lately. What should I do? My answer is, since you changed to Jesus Christ, why don't you ask Jesus Christ, not me? Because you changed it, so don't ask me. And the whole class laughed. Okay, due to climate change and animals and going extinct, what happens to the reincarnation cycle? There's so much in there. Reincarnation is about the time, about so much in there that I don't know how to relate them. Thank you, Venerable, for sharing your experiences today. I look forward to your lecture on how to deal with depression through meditation. I feel it can benefit so many people. Yes, I feel that because I've been turning my attention away from Vancouver to Hong Kong and to Singapore and to Asia. And after talking about eliminating depression and mental afflictions by using meditation, in the process of talking about it, I gained quite a few experiences in presenting it in a way that is organized. I think it is organized. And feedback to me is it's been quite beneficial to them. Maybe I should do the same talk at UBC or at Richmond Theater, in which they can accommodate about 700 people, 600 people. And I think people nowadays, no matter where they are, they need ways to help themselves in dealing with depression and anxiety and fear and all that. As I said, as we all know, that nowadays people have enough to live by. We have all kinds of, we won't get starved to death. We have enough to live by, but nothing to live for. What are we living for? What's the reason for living? What's the objectives of living? They don't have objectives. So we want to know what we are living for, not just knowing how to get materials to live by day, because we're getting all kinds of materials and nutritions and everything. But what's the objective of life? The objective of life is just finish your school, get married, giving birth to children, working, look after the children until they grow up, and then they have their own families, and then you go to nursing homes. Is that what all life is all about? If that's what life is, but the Buddha said, you're losing your meaning in life. You're losing a good opportunity to get out from the existential, what do we call it? Oh, I mentioned about the book called Alien Interview. Maybe I should bring it back now. In 1947, there was an alien disc, falling down from I don't know where, from the galaxy, and hitting in the country. I don't want to mention the name of that country because it's supposed to be confidential, according to where the material should come from. But it hit a country, and then that country started to organize a whole team to study the disk and the aliens, because there were 3 aliens in the disk, 3 aliens, and 2 of the aliens immediately left the body. Aliens have the flexibility that they can leave their robot body anytime they want. But there was 1 alien who still remained in that robot. One of the reasons for it, of course, later when you read the book, then you know why the alien wanted to stay. And that disc, it was not that big, probably about the size of this room, or of this hall. And the weight of that disc is about 130 pounds. There's no fantastic equipment inside. The aliens was able to fly using wavelengths. In other words, there's no buttons to push. The disc would fly to locations that the aliens wanted them. In other words, the aliens, they intercommunicate among them using wavelengths. They don't use anything else, just the wavelength. And then the kind of disc they have, I get into a little bit more detail, is when the disc fell, then it becomes so soft. So in other words, when you touch the disc, it's like cotton. But when it flies, before it crashes, it's like iron, steel. So the country said, if all our planes are made that way, there will be no air crash. Everybody would be safe. And they asked the alien, where do you get the material to build this kind of plane? The alien said, there's no such material on Earth. Only we have that material. You know what I mean? And then they form a whole team to organize a whole team of, I don't know, 200-300 people. You know, some scientists, you know, some artists and all that. And there was one nurse. There was a member of the team was a nurse. And the alien claimed, I put the story short, that the nurse had been friend with the alien for many rebirths. 8,000 years ago, for many rebirths. And that the alien wanted to communicate with the nurse too. So nobody could communicate with the alien except a member of the team, of the 200 members, members of the team, and the nurse was able to communicate with the alien using what? Wavelength. In other words, no language, just mind-to-mind communication. But mind-to-mind communication is not clear. It's about 50%. So one of the language expert, a Japanese language expert, suggested that maybe the nurse should taught the alien a language so that they can communicate more and more in detail. So the nurse was able to teach English to the alien, and within 15 days. How did the alien learn? The alien didn't have to go to sleep. So the alien learned everything about English and have all these piles and piles of books to flip. Everything, every page that was flipped in front of the alien's eyes, the alien could remember. So in other words, in addition to learning the whole English language, he was able to learn history, you know, everything about what this planet was all about. And then they conducted an interview. And a whole manuscript of the interview was written down by the nurse. But at that time, according to that book, every member in the team have the big vow that they have to treat this thing as confidential. Otherwise, they would be penalized with serious offenses. So the nurse was not releasing information out until the nurse was on the verge of death at the age of 85 or something, and she sent the whole manuscript to an author, Lawrence Spencer, telling him to release it to the public. So that the interview was released to the material was released to the public. And during the interview, of course, the whole team wanted to know a lot more information about aliens. But the alien said, I'm not going to answer any question. I can leave any time. I don't have to subject myself to any kind of torturing or, you know, any kind of thing, because I can leave any time. Our nation, our race is much more superior than yours. We're much more intelligent, we're much more happier, and we're actually in control of you. You are only a prison planet that none of us would like to come close to you. And also when we go through the galaxy, we have to go through an electric spell, a spell. You know, I don't know how they call it, I forgot the name. We have to go through an electric kind of belt. We don't want to go through that. It's like a contagious location in the planet that nobody wants to come close. We were just struck by lightning that accidentally we fell down. We are like a pilot for observation of the galaxy, because we are like policemen. sometimes we were sent out to observe galaxy, and somehow we were struck by lightning coincidentally, and it fell. And I personally know the nurse. For many, many reincarnations, we have been friends. So I want to pass to you information. The two aliens already left because they have nothing to be related to you. They can leave any time. But I like to give you information. I stay not for you to question me. I stay because I want to give you information. So the whole interview was conducted with a lot of information on it. And in some remarks I read, nobody could get, people from your prison planet could not get out from prison. There was one person by the name Siddhartha Gautama. He was able to get out. But some of this teaching was distorted by people in the later generations. It was interesting. It was related to Buddhism. So I kept on reading and reading it. It's so interesting. Why don't you, it's free. You can download it free. It's called Alien Interview, and it's by Lawrence Spencer. Download it and read it. A lot of information there, and it's quite supportive of the Buddhist practice too. A lot of good information about how this planet is actually a prison planet. The Buddha already said this is a prison that we are staying in. We're happy in it, but actually it's a prison. And all those aliens were actually heavenly people. But they are robots. They look like robots because they were in the robot's body. So how much of it is fictional and how much of it is trustworthy, you determine it yourself. You read it in the book. There's so many alien literature about planets. But this book is particularly related to Buddhism. I was introduced to it when I was in Hong Kong by someone who read about it. He said, interesting, the Buddhist philosophy was quite close to what the alien was talking about. Okay, so sharing experiences today, a lecture on how to deal with depression through meditation. I feel would benefit. So I maybe in the future I would plan some lectures in here, but I need a lot of volunteers to help in so that we can promote it. Make sure that it can get out. Just saying that, okay, Venerable, can you give a lecture? It's easy to say, but we need a lot of time to organize it, to find a location. A lot of planning is required. It's easy to say, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? But there's so much organizing. Why don't you help out? Not just suggesting what we should do, but help in to make it happen. We need your help to make it happen. Your idea for lecture in English regarding using meditation techniques to alleviate depression is a good one. Could you please briefly describe the techniques you will be lecturing on? It's basically meditation. One is the focus, the other is insightful contemplation. But the way we present it should be easily comprehensible instead of just mentioning a lot of terms. How to let go. When a thought of depression comes up, how to let go of it. And before learning how to let go, you have to train yourself how to focus. Meditation is not just asking a teacher, say, how do you cross the leg? How do you, where to put your hands, and how much time you should put to it. Not just that. You have to know why you are meditating. And it's not just meditation, it's a kind of mindfulness. People are not mindful. Meditation is just a very rough general term. Mindfulness is the most important. It takes a long time just to mention it in here, but we'll use a lot of slides, a lot of practice, maybe on-the-spot practice for 10, 15 minutes so that the audience would know how to do it. I think it's been quite effective. On many occasions I gave a talk in Hong Kong and in Singapore. I can use more or less the same PowerPoints and elaborate more on it. I think it would be helpful to people who suffer from depression. More and more people suffer from mental sickness these days than before. So I think it's been helpful. As you mentioned it, there was someone who committed suicide jumping bridge yesterday, right?
They wanted to.
They wanted to.
They were talked down, out, but
Yeah.
it was just, disrupted
Yeah.
the entire city.
It happened in Hong Kong too, because in Hong Kong, the political situation in Hong Kong, people of Hong Kong, it's a city where they accommodate 10 million people, including the travelers, from mainland China. Singapore is a little different. They only have 5 million people, and everybody has an apartment in Singapore. It's provided, but the government would sell it at a very low price. Every Singaporean, if they want to live in a place, they can afford to live in an apartment, a small apartment. But in Hong Kong, no. The house price is so high. They only rent a room. And when you get into a room, it's like they call it a coffin room. You just go in there and sleep. You have no place to move around. When you can touch the wall. When you go into that room, you can touch both sides of the wall, and then every night you just get there and sleep. 棺材房. The Hong Kong people, it's because the house price is so high. About 20 years ago, a luxury house would be in the range of, say, 5 million Hong Kong dollars. 25 years ago, a luxury apartment or even a townhouse. Now it's at least 20 million. 2000萬啊，嗰啲豪宅，以前500萬咋。So how can anybody afford? So people are getting very unhappy. I find out that. And lately there were 2 cases where they killed their own parents. They killed themselves, killed their parents. 2 or 3 cases. Terrible. They were under the British rule before, where they struggle for better and better achievement. Now it seems that the hope is getting not as high as before. They can afford, nobody can afford, no youngsters can afford. There was a couple, the husband and wife are making quite a bit of money. They couldn't afford to buy an apartment. They don't have the down payment. A down payment is $2 million, at least $1.5 million. The husband is making $50,000. The wife is making another $12,000. When they combine together, it's more than $100,000 per month. $100,000 per month. They could not have the ability to buy a small apartment because they don't have the down payment. So that's a problem. So the suicidal rate at university and in the senior population is getting higher and higher. We should relate Buddhism to how to overcome depression. I say that's more helpful.